That triangle in the sky, silent, massive, drifting over you like it was studying you. You've replayed it in your head 100 times, trying to convince yourself it was a plane, a drone, anything normal. But deep down, you know it wasn't. You've seen something strange, but you can't quite make out what. The shape, the lights, the way it moved, like it wasn't obeying the same rules as everything else in the sky. And the more you think about it, the less sense it makes. But you won't have to worry about it, because in 5 minutes, you won't remember any of this. Not the triangle, not the silence. Not the way the air felt heavier, like something was watching you back. Because the people or entities responsible for keeping moments like this buried are already on their way. They show up quietly, they speak calmly. They smile like they learned it from a diagram. And they make sure whatever you saw stays secret. These are the men in black. And they didn't come here for you. They came for what you saw. Encounters with the men in black date back to the early 1900s. And even though the stories come from different decades, different countries, and different people, the myth never changes. These mysterious beings show up after something strange happens. They show up to keep things quiet, and they show up to make sure nothing gets out. Witnesses describe them as too perfect, almost like they learned how to smile from a diagram. Their movements are precise, stiff, and robotic, like they're trying to imitate how humans walk, without fully understanding it. They wear the same attire every time. Funeral black suits, outdated hats, and clothes that look like they haven't changed since the early 1900s. People who report UFO sightings often say the same thing happens next. A strange phone call, a voice claiming to be from some branch of the military or the Air Force, someone asking them to stay home because the agents are on their way to ask a few questions. Sometimes there's no phone call at all, they just show up. Sometimes a car, sometimes no car. They always know where the witness lives. They always arrive impossibly fast. Some encounters describe them as wearing heavy makeup, as if they're trying to hide something underneath. Others say they've seen them vanish in thin air. One witness reported a flash of blue light and 3 burn-like markings left on the ground where the strange man had once stood. Only for the markings to be erased overnight, as if they were never there. People who have met them often describe a strange magnetic sensation in their head, like their memories are being rummaged through and tampered with. Some say the men in black use telepathy and strange devices to alter memories and make sure nothing gets out. People say they've heard the men in black utter strange remarks about each other and themselves, like, "My energy is running low, must go now, goodbye, and please move him. I can't move him myself." These sentences indicate they are definitely not human, and run on some kind of energy. Witnesses also report them as drifting instead of walking, taking tiny careful steps like they're afraid of falling. The FBI have had encounters with the men in black as well, and even they allegedly have no idea who they are or where they came from. Some say they've seen them make objects disappear. Others say they've heard them make strange, empty threats. Not violent, but unsettling. Like they're reading from a script they just don't quite understand. These stories come from all over the world. Different countries, different cultures, different governments. Yet the descriptions are identical, even though none of these agencies work together. And none of these witnesses know each other. So the question becomes, who or what are they? Where do they come from? And why do they appear after sightings of things we're supposedly not supposed to see? And if that's true, who dictates what we're supposed to see? That's what I'm about to find out. These encounters I talk about, the witnesses, though for all different reasons, from all different walks of life, they all have one thing in common. They saw something that they weren't meant to see, something impossible to unsee. But someone else knew they did, and they sent the people to silence them, commonly known as the Men in Black. The Men in Black have earned their title over the years for always wearing the matching attire of long funeral black trench coats, grey gloves, and fedora hats. Though they vary in numbers and in some reports gender, their clothing remains identical, like they all come from the same place and time. Now, over the years, the reports of the Men in Black have been collected in various forms of media and books. But among the most conclusive at connecting these peculiar encounters was the giant book of Strange But True by Thomas Sleeman. The book is a collection of unsolved mysteries. One of the mysteries featured in it, of course, is the Men in Black. Sleeman collected several encounters that directly relate to the Men in Black. Not all of the encounters he collected are verbatim to the myth of the Men in Black. In fact, one of these accounts features a strange and mysterious woman and a man that came to ask a few questions. But what most people miss is that these connections Sleeman linked are not related only to the idea and appearance of the Men in Black, but the similarities in the occurrences and scenarios. He wrote and connected these witnesses' stories. Albert K. Bender, a dedicated UFO investigator, Paul Miller, a hunter in Dakota, America, Rex Heflin, a Californian highway inspector, Robert Richardson, a resident of Toledo, Ohio, Dr. Herbert Hopkins, a doctor and hypnotist, and Maureen Coyne, Dr. Herbert Hopkins' sister-in-law, and her husband Shrinley Coyne. These people are all witnesses of extraterrestrials or UFOs in some way, and did all get strange visits from people in black suits. In all these accounts, they came to ask a few questions. They were very interested to speak to the individual, and knew meticulously about their incident regarding their otherworldly encounter. These entities all behaved strangely. Subtle things made them off-putting, like their heavily applied makeup, or their disproportionate intelligence levels, questioning basic things we believe to be normal, yet seeming to know everything about the questions they were asking and advanced technology. And in some reports using telepathy to persuade people to do things, to forget. I agree with the connections Thomas Sleeman has made with these encounters, because if the Men in Black really were part of a secret organization, why would they send the same people over and over again? There has to be some form of anonymity. Otherwise, it would be too suspicious. Also, they sent people who were subtly strange, but not strange enough to question. They also are seen very rarely, so their obscure appearance isn't widely documented. It's likely we don't know about a lot of Men in Black encounters because they did their job. Because they silenced the people and they never spoke about what they saw again. A major turning point in my research on the Men in Black is the Niagara Falls hotel incident. And this is one of the most strange and widely witnessed Men in Black reports yet. So here's what happened. It was 2008 in Niagara Falls. The manager of the Niagara Falls Hotel, Shane Sova, and a security guard a few weeks prior to the incident allegedly saw a triangular spacecraft, which was shortly after investigated by a UFO research team. 3 weeks following the investigation, they came. The Men in Black. They questioned the hotel visitors and employees about the whereabouts of the manager. Sova and the hotel's security guard, who at the time fortunately weren't at the hotel. The hotel staff described these peculiar visitors as tall men in black suits with black fedora hats, grey gloves, identical faces, extremely pale skin, and absent of eyebrows or eyelashes, and abnormally large eyes that felt like they stared into your mind. They spoke in a monotone, and something about their artificially perfect appearance and mannerisms made the witnesses deeply unsettled by their presence. One employee who was questioned by the men in black claimed she felt like they somehow knew what she was thinking. But what makes this case so unique and separated from the rest? Well, this incident has the only ever recorded security camera footage of the men in black. Take a look at this. As you can see from the footage, they're unusually tall, their movements seem robotic, they look identical. But what about Shane Sovar and the security guard? Well, as far as public records go, the last heard from Shane Sovar where his staff were freaked out. He said the man wandered the hotel, then vanished. He hasn't been heard from since in any form of media that has been publicly documented. But there has been no form of continuation of this investigation or known public record of him since. The security guard? Like Shane Sovar, there's no public record of him after the incident. Once the men in black came, everything stopped. The investigation, the story, everything. But see, they're advancing. All of the previous accounts of them were more messy. There were numerous interviews and accounts talking about the men in black. But after that, a large amount of the witnesses went silent as well, claiming they weren't allowed to talk, and some disappeared. No public record, nothing. Once their story was over, so were they. But Shane Sovar's case was different. He heard they were looking for him, and before he could really even process what happened, overnight it stopped. Everything. It leaves us to ponder, who were these people, who at this point have only really grown to be a part of the myth, and who dictated that they knew too much. But Shane Sovar? He wouldn't want it to fade away. Everything he did, all he released about the incident. He didn't even know what he'd gotten into, but by the time he found out, it was already too late. He didn't get to finish any of it, but if he knew today how inconclusive it all was, he'd want us to finish putting the puzzle together. Because whoever they are, they want us to think the story ended then and there, but it didn't. Because this isn't just the one case, it's many, and when you put them together, you see the pattern. Through all of the encounters, there has always been something more than strange about the men in black. Something that blatantly divided them from everything that feels human about a person. And what are you without that? What are you without your humanity? What are they? Vessels? Hollow shells? Entities that live only for a single purpose? To silence those who know too much. But why? Now, here's where my theory kicks in. I believe they act so hollow because they're a kind of organic robot. The type that's programmed to do only one thing, and do it very well, and to never ask questions. But how? Well, hypothetically, imagine this. 4,000 years into the future, in the year 6026, an elite government of the Earth is formed. This is an empire that has complete political control of all branches of governments internationally, whether they know it or not. They have always had all of the most advanced and high-tech equipment at the time, 20 or so years ahead of the public. All the secrets, all of the machinery and equipment that they've been working on for thousands of years is here. In this empire, there are very few people, Their generations have known these secrets for centuries, for very few can know such things and understand that they are for a cause bigger than themselves. This empire has existed since the early 1700s, slowly building itself up to what it is now in the year 6026. And they create a pocket universe, or find a way to harness energy from other dimensions, and they use this to harness or create a form of zero-point gravity. But to get to this stage in the future that this advanced government is now, they have to do what they did for themselves to get to this stage of technological advancement and future approximately 4,300 years ago. This government's creation was assisted by the Men in Black every step of the way. Why? Because this government artificially created the Men in Black after creating time travel. It's a time loop, and here's how it works. The government of the future assisted their organization's creation in the past by making sure nothing got out about extraterrestrial objects and encounters that they are supposed to find out in the timeline. And anyone getting in the way of that, anyone figuring it out before they did, would stall or destroy the creation of their empire. But they couldn't trust anyone in their group for time travel. They were far too valuable and scarce in numbers to lose, and who knows what effect it could have on them or their minds. So that's why they created the Men in Black. They seem human enough, but are created synthetically in a way so that they don't ask questions. An organic AI. So the government of the future uses them as a tool to not only make sure no extraterrestrial information gets out, but to communicate back and forth with their predecessors so they not only protect the creation of this government, but help the organization in the past to build it. So it's this giant time loop that creates this massively powerful future empire. This makes sense of the old technology the Men in Black use, and why they wear old-fashioned clothing. It's not because they're stupid, it's because it's basically the one-size-fits-all time period-wise. Old-fashioned clothing, in a way, is already timeless and professional, and it would work very well for time travel, because they wouldn't have to worry much about the clothing. You never really question the time period of business clothes, at least not in the moment. But what makes me really wonder about this theory, if it is accurate, is once it's all over, what do they plan to do with this technology in the future? What happens to the Men in Black? Where do they go? But more importantly, what happens to Earth? What happens to us? Now, here's where things get complicated, because not every Men in Black report can be proven. Most of what we know comes from witnesses, frightened, confused, and trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. There's no DNA, no fingerprints, no official documents, no confirmed identities. And logically, that should make the whole thing fall apart, but it doesn't. Because even when you strip away the exaggerations, even when you remove the folklore, even when you ignore the impossible details, you're still left with something that shouldn't exist. A global pattern of identical encounters spanning nearly a century. Different witnesses, different countries, different decades, same descriptions. Then there's also the Niagara Falls footage, the only known video evidence of Men in Black activity. Two identical men, robotic movements, perfect faces, no eyebrows, no eyelashes, no expression, no hesitation. The perfect description of the myth. And the moment they arrived, the investigation stopped, the witnesses went silent, the story died. That's not normal, that's not random, that's not coincidence. That's intervention. Something or someone shut it down, and that's where my theory comes in. If my theory is right, then the Men in Black aren't aliens. They aren't humans. They aren't government agents. They're the perfect tools to secure the creation of an empire. Organic machines created in the distant future for one purpose. Sent back to protect the timeline. Sent back to ensure the future empire that created them gets created. A perfect loop. The future creates the Men in Black. The Men in Black protect the past. The protected past creates the future. And the perfect loop continues forever. But that leaves one final question. The one nobody ever asks. If the Men in Black were created to protect the timeline, then what happens when the timeline is finally secure? Do they return to the future they were built in? Do they shut down? Are they really just guardians of this empire's future? Or are they for something more that even their creators didn't suspect? Only time will tell. And if it's true, then they're out there right now. Not to protect us, but to protect what comes next. But what will happen next with the Men in Black? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you guys for watching, have a fantastic day or night, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And click that notifications bell so you know when my next video comes out. And this is another one of my videos I think you'd like. Don't let me hold you up from watching it. I'll see you next video. Tristan Exposes out.